What was your impression of coming from Florida, of the culture of football in Wisconsin when you got here?
Man, I thought they was I thought they was crazy, and because I couldn't understand how people could play in such cold weather. It was like 50 degrees, 55 degrees one day, and it was like the first practice where, that's cold to me. It's coming from Florida, like if it's like 65, everybody's like crying, complaining. So it's like 55 degrees here, and I was literally like stuck, like an icicle on the sideline, and I couldn't quite understand how people could go through a practice and hit each other when it was so cold. So I think, honestly, the biggest thing for me was the weather. But like I said, being here for 4 years now, 50 degrees and 60 degrees sometimes, those are beautiful days to me, honestly. Because when we get into November and it's like we played Penn State this past year, that was rough. That was about 15 degrees or something like that. That was a really rough game. So I would say the weather, but I think I've acclimated.
What about in terms of, high school football? I think is probably a lot bigger down in Florida just because the weather's better, and there's a lot more kids playing football year round. What college football probably a little bit higher, magnified down there as well. I mean, what compare and contrast just that end of the culture?
I would say people they eat, sleep, and breathe football down there, and one reason is because we can't play year round. So everything that there was football down there, and that's to be expected. They crank out a ton of athletes, and I'm happy to be a part of that. But definitely the weather plays a huge part in it because, when it's January, February, here, people can't really go out and throw a football, run routes, practice on their craft. It's never anything like that in Florida. So I think that's the biggest difference.
You mentioned coming here for a scholarship. I guess other than that, I mean, you left Florida to come to 30 degrees in the middle. I mean, why did you come up here?
You know what? When I came here, obviously the scholarship was huge, but to get it from a university like Wisconsin, when you think about the people that I met here, it was truly a family atmosphere. I could tell that they cared about the person that I was and the person that I wanted to be. So that was a huge deal. I loved every single person that I met here. There was not one person who wasn't humble, and that's a huge thing for me. So I really felt at home. And on top, even though I didn't love the game of football, they seen something in me. I honestly probably wouldn't offer myself a scholarship, but they saw something in me, and I'm eternally grateful for it.
James said that you had a hand in, I guess, for lack of a better word, recruiting him up here. I guess talk about how that conversation went and how what that role was.
Well, a lot of times when guys come on visits and they're recruited, the first thing that they want to know is, okay, every coach at every place is going to tell you this is the greatest place. We'll do this for you. We'll do that for you. Blah blah blah. It's truly hard to kind of fight through that and understand what's really true. And me and James were really cool before I even got here, and I was one of the people who was able to tell them, listen, the things that they tell you are true here. They really look out for you, and I think my opinion and Connor O'Neill's opinion as well, because we both went to St. Thomas, I think it played a huge part in getting him, and obviously we've been lucky to have him. He's a great player.
What was your favorite food growing up in Florida? Regional food, local food?
Oh man, probably Jamaican beef patties and curry chicken. You don't see too much of that here. There was actually a little food stand a couple blocks down, and I tried some curry chicken, and it's just not the same. But I appreciate the effort. It just wasn't the same, though. But, Florida is truly a melting pot, so you really get some crazy foods like that. If you want to know some more about food, you ask PJ. He's Haitian, and they can cook. So anytime I go home, I definitely, like to eat some foods that I definitely will never see in Wisconsin.
What about, to that end, what's your favorite food up here? Favorite